spoke with Ohio Congressman and Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan. Mr. Chairman, nice to talk to you again, sir.
Good to be with you, Greg.
Mr. Chairman, you're going to have a hearing tomorrow, and as I understand it, it's about the regulatory impact or impediment, I should say, to trying to, fix California quickly to help those people. So tell me what your hearing is tomorrow.
Well, it's about overregulation. I mean, everyone knows California's got all these crazy policies in place, bad insurance policy that some insurance companies drop to customers because of the stupid regulations in place. The inability to allow the underbrush to be cleared out. We think we had a group of our members and staff out there last week getting a tour, and this was the main thing they said is this underbrush never gets cleaned out, never controlled burns, and then when you have something like the conditions they had with the wind conditions adding to the fire, whether it was an arsonist or whoever started it, it just created this devastation that we've seen. So we want to highlight that and make sure like these kind of policies don't go anywhere else. And maybe there's some pressure the federal government can put on California to say, hey, get back to common sense for goodness sake. So that's the focus of this. It's a subcommittee of the full committee, subcommittee hearing tomorrow, but we think it's pretty important and we got some pretty good witnesses.
Well, it seems to me that there are really sort of two issues. One is whether there are regulations that that inhibit the ability to prevent problems like this. Obviously, they're always going to have fires out there, but the magnitude of the fire, that's the first thing. But the second thing is now that they have had this utter devastation, these people trying to get their homes back or trying to find out what was there or anything, is that regulations are now impeding the ability to sort of clean up and to fix things.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. There's also, of course, what is FEMA doing? We know FEMA, when the Emergency Management Association was there, our agency was there in Carolina back in the fall, we knew how they were discriminating against people who had a Trump sign in their yard, for goodness sake. So there's all those issues that we think are relevant, and we're trying to be helpful here and highlight what works, what doesn't work. And, of course, there's what President Trump has raised when he was out there. You know, the craziness on the water situation and not allowing water to go where it needs to go. I mean, all those are part of the discussion, and we just think it's important that we highlight that, get that information out there, and then try to be helpful to these families and folks who've lost their homes.
Well, State Farm, which insures many of these homes in the area and in California, has sent a letter to the state regulators for insurance. They want rates to go up 22%, and after it goes up over 7%, they have to get permission. But 22%, it's an incredible jump. Yet in some ways, is that they're going to go bankrupt paying for all this damage.
Yeah. No, look, I get it. My understanding is there were laws in place in California that prevented the marketplace from actually working. And that's a problem. So some people wound up not having insurance. Imagine that situation. You got these beautiful homes that are for many families, the home is their biggest investment, and it's gone and it wasn't insured. That is just devastating, of course. So we want to highlight some of that as well in the hearing tomorrow.
I suspect that some regulations are designed to make sure that things are done well, done safely. Yet on the other hand is that when it's an emergency, you ought to be able to cut through the red tape and get things done quickly. I think there's sort of, it's a two-tier problem.
And then, of course, remember, there's going to be federal aid. Members from California, the governor of California, are asking for federal help. So tax dollars from the people in the 4th District of Ohio and from all over the country, those people are being asked to send money to California to help with this situation, where it seems like the problem was really exacerbated by policy decisions made by people in California, and yet they're asking us to pay for it. So that is a concern as well, and I'm sure that will come up in the hearing tomorrow also.
What's the response from California, knowing that you have this hearing, do you think?
Well, there's been several. We're not the only hearing on Capitol Hill. Other committees have had this too. So, look, right now I think Gavin Newsom wants the money, and he doesn't want to admit that they did anything wrong. It was just an act of God, an act of nature. We understand that that the wind and had real impact on this, but we understand also the policies that you put in place, the left-wing, what I would call the radical environmental policies, had an impact as well.
This is always going to happen in California with those winds and with those dry brush and everything. But I guess looking at it for me is that they should have seen this coming in such a magnitude. And somewhat, I know a colleague at Fox News, Adam Housley, who basically quit reporting because he was sick and tired of standing in front of fires in California and saying the same thing, time after time after time. And it almost seems like California government, they certainly didn't want their state to burn down, but they just weren't proactive enough.
Well, think about it in just common sense way. Why are so many people leaving that state? It's beautiful out there. They got so many just natural things, the weather, the climate, the hills. I mean, it's like, who would? They're leaving because of the stupid policies put in place by the left in local communities, in the state itself. So that sort of tells you everything. When people are leaving wonderful sunny California to go other places, it's because of the government and the policy decisions that were made. And here's just another example of how it directly impacts people in a real and devastating way.
Well, and that's, of course, you're talking about the people who live there. I mean, the Americans are very generous and help people, whether it's hurricanes in the south or wherever it is. But but taxpayers probably don't want to pay for things they're exacerbated or extra charges because of the way that it is managed or failure to anticipate how to make it better.
Yep, and that's exactly what we're going to try to discuss tomorrow in the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, nice to see you as always. Thank you, sir.
You bet, Greta. Take care.